Go into your room. That's right. Sit on that fat of yours and do nothing but listen to records.
We're at the Archive of Contemporary Music on White Street downtown, and I'm not going to show you the wall of...
Do a quick flash.
A quick flash, or the autograph pictures. We don't want anybody copying the autographs. Ready? There.
People will slow it
And this
down.
is the proprietor who owns all the records. We don't own all the records.
No, it's owned by the state of New York.
The state owns it.
Yeah.
Andrew Cuomo owns it now. Okay.
Yeah, he's going to build a bridge with it.
But you're responsible for this.
Right. This is our
You should
34th
introduce
year.
yourself
I'm
to-
B.George, Director of the Archive of Contemporary Music. This is our 34th year. It's probably the largest collection of pop music in the world. It's over 3.25 million pieces and maybe 4 million pieces of memorabilia and press kits and photos. And
Did you have a party when it was 3 months into the year last year because it was 33 1/3?
Yes.
You did. I hope so.
We have a 45th, right?
Right.
We hope.
Okay.
So these are some of the great things that we have like on the wall. But this is like, I don't know if people know, Maya Angelou, one of our major poets, was once a calypso singer on the street, and as was Louis Farrakhan.
I knew about Louis Farrakhan. I did not know that Maya Angelou. Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, and she signed it for us, and she was really so great because here she's a babe, right? She's fabulous, right? And,
Yeah, wow.
And at the time she signed it, of course, she was a little older, a little thicker, a little
Yeah.
less steady. And she holds it up and sort of shakes it for me and says, "My dear, I have not seen this record in 50 years."
Wow.
You know, it's like
I've never seen that record.
So dramatic. Yeah, so I guess Farrakhan and her were both taught by their parents there of Caribbean heritage
Right.
to sing these racy calypso songs
Right.
on the street to make money.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that happened. And then this is we
can
think
show
the
that.
first time that a rap appears on a sound recording, a little bit before Sugar Hill.
On Spring Records, yeah. 78, 9? Wow.
And Lou Reed, obviously. This is really interesting. This just came in, and this is the sort of value at the archive. What we don't say no to anything.
Right.
You know, we say we're the Molly Bloom of record collectors. We say
Right.
yes, more, I want more, yes,
Yes.
yes. Or we're the dumpster of popular music. We're somewhere in between. But this is the kind of thing that's really amazing. This is there was a small label by a family, and his name was Selson. So he started Sell Some Records, right?
As
So a
opposed
play
to
on the name.
Buy some records.
Right.
Yeah.
and the one of the grandfather was a cantor, and so the family sent us these cantorial singing recordings, and they said, "Oh yeah, my nephew also had a small label of just Jersey Shore bands. Would you like those too?" Okay, so they sent us 6 of the 7 known records. This turns out to be an unbelievably rare recording, because this is Walter and this is his brother, and evidently they taught Bruce Springsteen how to fiddle around on the guitar and move on the stage. Then Walter dies in Vietnam, and this becomes the basis for the song The Wall, because his name is on the wall, and Bruce sings about that and talks about that quite a bit.
Wow.
So these were like really beloved people of his that got him going, and it's only this really small label, and it'll go between, you know, I mean, I'm not a collector. I know that it's hard to believe. But
I know how that works. If you have all these records, it's like,
Right.
whoa. I get
well, this started with, I had 47,000 records, and I gave them to the archive. So,
Right.
but
Wow.
so this, you know, we don't know what it is, but it's like $200 to $600, right?
So you get it in. Do you know what it is right away?
No, that's the beauty of
how
all
do-
this for me.
How do you research this to decide it is worth something?
Well, we have like 30,000 books here. So we start with books because we think of the internet as like a good hunting dog. It's a nice pointer, but it's not exactly the facts.
Not accurate, I know.
Right.
Now, the good guy,
we
Joe
don't know.
O'Brien, I remember him.
Yeah. When there were good guys on the
Yeah.
radio.
That's all bad guys.
So
already.
yeah, so they gave us all this stuff, and of the 6 of the 7 known releases from Sell Some Records. So it becomes
Did they
really nice.
know when they gave? Did they know the value?
No,
They
this
didn't.
was just sitting around, and they say he's dead, and we don't know what it is. Would you like it?
It could have gotten.
Yeah, that's the
what
whole
happens all the
main thing.
time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And also now, because space is so expensive here in Manhattan
Yeah.
and in New York in general, we're getting more than we've ever gotten before. Well, we used to get about 100,000 to 200,000 things a year. Now this should easily reach 500,000 just in 1 year.
A lot of it's because our generation is dying off, and people that don't know the records are valuable, don't know how to sell them.
Yeah.
So it's to your benefit.
Well, we have a term, the record widow.
Yeah.
It's the person who just said, he's wasted all my money on this.
I didn't know where my records were going, but now this 13-year-old kid can have whatever he wants.
Right. Well, we've had things like that happen too, where we either get it because the kids, like, I don't know if you know who Craig Kalman is, but he's incredible. Craig, yeah, he has a credible collection, and he doesn't think his kids will want it. And this happens a lot, and where people just say,
well, then maybe they're not old enough to appreciate it. It's like Harold Bronson from Rhino. So I went to visit Harold, and he's taking me down this corridor where he's got all this great memorabilia on the wall, and he's got a nice, great collection of records, and I helped him set up his turntable, and we walk in and see his kid, and I say, so what do you like to listen to? And he's playing video games. What do you like? He says, music sucks. That's what his answer was. And I said, wait a few years, and now he's into it big time. So there's that switch that happens with some kids.
Yeah, it's not a problem, but the problem is that if you don't donate it to a place like ours or us, it then gets sold.
Right.
And it gets dispersed.
Right.
And then then your legacy gets lost.
Right.
I mean, we are really, really adamant about putting, if you look at our database, everybody's name who gives a record, even if it's the third copy, that we add their name to it.
Right.
Because we want to make sure
that's
that
nice.
somehow, and it also gets marked on the sound recording, that somehow it's kept together as a collection, even though it's
dispersed in your system, but online it's
right.
So I know what you're saying to me is you've never given me any records. What's your problem? And that's true. I've never given you any records.
Well, we're starting off a conversation, but things like this. But this is like wonderful stuff. So this is Vogue Records, not the French label.
Yeah, I've got some of these.
Yeah. So they made maybe 72, I think, altogether.
I think I have
42.
Phil Spitalny and his All Girl Orchestra. Was that on this label?
They never seemed to. Only maybe Patsy Montana was well known. They didn't really get great people,
right?
But they did. They did follow up on the. At the time, this is between 1946 and 1947, just 1 year barely, out of Detroit.
Yeah.
And the idea was, of course, they were capitalizing on children's records. Right, children's records were the only ones that had any images at the time.
Right.
And then, of course, Adolf Hitler, who made the first really adult picture discs.
Is that true?
Yeah. As far as I know.
No idea.
That's why I'll stick to the story.
Yes.
It was because they were into propaganda.
Yes.
And the idea is, if you hear my words, you should see the picture. Of course, they didn't realize he was spinning around and looking rather silly at the time, but that whole idea.
Yeah.
So it's and this is like really nice too. This has just come in, and this is the kind of stuff again that is so wonderful for us. So this is we have a person who is just a terrific person for us. He buys rare records. He buys records at our record sale.
Right.
Takes them home, listens to them, sometimes copies them, brings them back with the price still on them, so we can sell them during the sale. So he bought this recently at a great store in Philadelphia, and this is quite unique.
$150.
Yep. It's very famous. It's hard. They're hard to get. They're very much saved in India. He's somebody who's learned to do the circular breathing like a saxophone player.
So it just keeps going.
Right. So he whistles on the intake. And he does these long, elaborate ragas and bhajans and different kinds of devotional Indian music on this. So he's like Tony Bennett. He has 100 records. He's done 10,000 concerts, but again, in our culture, completely unknown.
Yeah.
And even in his culture, at first considered a novelty, and then gets accepted because it's done so well. So there's lots of stuff like that.
Yeah.
Here we're doing, somebody's asking us to put together a compilation, or not a compilation, but a collection of every record that has a cat on the cover.
And what are they going to do with it?
It'd probably be the most visited site on the internet.
Oh, so what you do is you would take these out of your collection,
right.
photograph them, and
scan them.
And you charge for that?
Yeah, we charge for services.
You should, of course.
Yeah.
Like, what would it cost if...
It's $50 a scan, no matter what it is. This we just did for Sony, so they're reassuring it's a. They couldn't find a stereo version of this, they'll sometimes borrow the sound recording. A good engineer, I mean, it's a really the industry is, as you may know, is in flux.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So a good engineer will want to hear a vinyl recording in order to make a used to be a CD. He might be only making an MP3, MP4, MP5 now.
Right.
That's it. But they want to hear it and know what it sounds like.
So what are they going to use for the source for that?
Well, we don't know if they're going to use this disc or if
Yeah.
they found a master tape. I'm sure they do from Fania. They probably have the master
But
tape.
if they don't, I mean, look what happened at Universal
Right.
with that fire.
Right.
So I've got records that sound better than what they have left
Right.
over after the
And
fire.
we did that for the Fela Kuti reissues, where they took our recordings, because I have 217 Fela records, so it's a pretty amazing collection.
Yeah.
And so when Knitting Factory did the reissues, we did 5 of the covers and 2 of the master tapes from vinyl. So it's a pretty normal thing, because think about it, the record companies are bought and sold all the time.
That's right.
There's enormous theft, right? There's loss.
They don't store it right.
Yeah, or they don't own the rights to the artwork.
Yeah.
Or they've given the artwork back after because they never knew there'd be a second use.
Yeah.
Or a
they
second
just don't
life.
have it anymore. I know it happens
Yeah,
all the time.
and also things just get tossed because they're lazy or stupid or ignorant. I mean, there's a million reasons why things
Yeah.
disappear.
Yeah.
You know, if we were smart, we'd be in the desert in Arizona, right?
Like where the Scientologists have,
somewhere
about that
between
whole thing.
somewhere between an earthquake and a flood.
You know how all of L. Ron Hubbard's speeches are stored on metal parts?
I didn't know that.
Oh, wait, I'll tell you this off camera. Sorry.
So anyway, so this was nice too. This was recently sent by Pearl Jam, because he did a ukulele album, so Eddie Vedder's and everything. So that's signed.
I shouldn't show that, though. Right?
Yeah, that's it. Well, we'll
That's
see what
okay.
happens. Anyway, but I'll show you some nice things. Okay. So again, our collection's great not because we have the rarest things. I mean, like you can go to people and say, "I've got 5 Robert Johnsons and I've got
Right,
this, and
right.
I've got a Walter Payton." I mean, they've got these things that nobody else has. But what we have is a lot.
Yeah.
And we have we have almost everything, and it's easy to find. So we just worked on this for Tashent, which is, these aren't illustrators who did record covers, but artists. So like, Matisse did the drawings of Ella Fitzgerald for
Right. This
2
Andy
of her
Warhol
records.
picture covers.
Right. Well, I'll show you a really rare Andy Warhol that we found for the
I'm sure you will.
thing.
I'm sure you have it.
So this is a classical, obviously, and so what Warhol had done when he was a more or less ordinary graphic artist had done these drawings.
Now,
for
who did
this
that?
release. Andy Warhol.
That was Andy Warhol. Wow.
Yeah. So he did a lot of these for this classical Daphne Chloe.
Is he credited on or something?
Yes. It's very well known, but and they're not easy to find. It's hard for us to have found. We have a couple, but they're not all perfect, right? These are often from, but however they come in. And these are given away quite a lot because nobody knows what they are.
That's right. It was $1 or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so this happens a lot. People don't know what they are, and I'll show you some other things that are really amazing. But this is a really beautiful book. So the guy had worked on it for 8 years, and he was short 300 covers. And because I had worked on, I don't know if you know, I put out Laurie Anderson's first record,
Right.
Oh Superman.
Yeah.
So this is Laurie's drawing. This is probably worth more than anything in the collection because it's art.
Yeah.
Right?
Wow.
And so that's the drawing for Oh Superman. And so I had worked on early performance art records, and so I had a lot of this material that artists would have done. And so they had 300 they were short of, and we had 200 of them here, which was great. And they were the hardest ones to find. So,
Wow.
but it's, Robert, I mean, just nice
You got the
things.
Jackie Gleason and Salvador Dali cover.
Yeah.
That's easy.
Well, that's how to consider one of the first ones because they're shaking hands on the back of the cover,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
is so.
Right.
I wish I had that signed, right?
Exactly.
By both of them. But anyway, so here's one thing. This is Keith Richards has endowed a blues collection here for 22 years.
Wow.
So this is a very good pressing of Robert Johnson, Me and the Devil Blues. And so he bought this for us. So and I'll show you the whole collection in a bit.
That was nice of him.
But it is not, it's incredible because we have something called donor fatigue where people get tired of helping.
Yeah.
And I understand why. I'm tired of being helped. But there's no other way to do it. And so Keith has been most amazing through Jane Rose and Rainbow and all these people who are around him who have, your access to stars is always limited or helped by the support people.
Yeah.
And he's had great ones. And
That's great.
And you if you read his biography, you'll see how important these people were to keeping him around.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's a pretty amazing
Every
thing.
time I go to garage sales and see 78s and I see a Vocalion, I'm always hopeful, but it's never.
Yeah, exactly. It is true.
They're out. They're still going to be out there.
But I mean, my interest, because I've done so much traveling in other cultures. I mean, my interests are. I mean, I lived in India for a year, on and off in Kingston, Jamaica, for 2 years.
You did? Oh.
Yeah, my wife was a UN consultant in textiles, and they were trying to put together a craft industry in Jamaica, but they have no raw materials, so it's very difficult.
Yeah.
But there's a place in Kingston called Devon House, so we were there in the height of the shootings and the reggae era. So I have about 10,000 really good Jamaican singles.
Wow.
You know, from the Night Nurse era, so 80s. Early
So
80s.
can't they take hemp and make it into textiles? I mean,
Only certain kinds, and it
Yeah.
isn't the same value. It didn't have the same value.
that's true. Yes.
Yeah, there is fiber available, but it's used. So I mean, I've gone after odder things. So this is like a signed Candido, right?
Oh, that's cool.
Which is very, very nice, and he's pretty old now. And we have early things like, Paul Robeson.
Oh.
And often what's nice, the very limited edition things, often it's accidental. Like, so this is not that rare a
I've seen
group of
that,
recordings.
yeah.
If you have him singing the My Lai or Vietnamese songs, that's worth quite a bit.
Oh.
But this is fairly common. But, if you have enough energy to open it up and you find out that this one, was a part of a limited edition.
Yeah, I got a copy of an early modern jazz quartet record that they all signed.
Yeah.
It was $1 at a record swap.
This
But the
happens.
record was in terrible shape, so I bought it anyway. And then I went to another booth, and there was one in perfect shape for $5. So now I have a perfect record.
So
I
this
got
is-
that. Yeah.
Yeah, and but do you have it signed by everybody?
No.
So that's the kind of thing.
And that was a
that's,
promo copy
Yeah.
too.
Oh, I'll tell you a really want to hear a sad record story?
Yes, I always like
So,
I could tell
okay,
you many. But
so
yours are probably.
We had a pretty good copy, not as good as this, but this always breaks.
I know.
You see them all the time. And we sold it for like $100 to someone at our last sale because we had an extra one. And it was so okay. Immediately pulled it straight up and broke it.
Oh, why did he do that? He
didn't know.
Oh.
Because he never had a lighter.
Oh.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People, it's about that mechanical relationship
Yeah.
between objects.
Was he upset?
Yeah,
Yes.
but that's too bad.
Did he say, "Why didn't you tell me"?
Well, he didn't
Hey.
do it in our presence, so
Yeah, too bad.
Anyway, but this is one people sort of are happy to see, So Queen's.
Now I have a handwritten 2-page letter from Brian May, because
Okay.
I did all the national radio spots for the first 3
Uh-huh.
Queen records.
Yeah.
And so one day I get this airmail letter, the old blue and I open up. It's a handwritten note from him thanking me for my commercials, which was really nice. And then on the back he signed it Brian May, and in parentheses Queen, like I wouldn't know who it was.
Yeah,
And that's sitting in my first Queen album, first British Queen album.
Right.
And my wife has no interest in any of this. And I said to her, someone's going to get this record. If it's not the 13-year-old kid, someone will get it just to have the record. And then, go, what's this? Oh!
It's that surprise that we're like, this is another good example. So somebody gave us 600 very ordinary country and western records. And we're looking through them and we're going, oh, it's the same old. Because what you want is 50s.
Yeah.
Country and western
Yeah.
records, right? So it's pretty ordinary, and we're like and there's 3 pop records in the whole thing, and this is one of them, and it's signed by everybody in the band.
Wow.
And it's like, we don't know if it's real. I mean, we're not like sitting there verifying
Yeah,
everything,
yeah.
but we're pretty sure. We
Yeah.
looked at some other things. So yeah, I just had Toots sign this recently, which is nice.
I've got that record. Is that
Okay.
a UK pressing or an American
I
pressing?
don't know.
uh,
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Yeah.
But here's another collector's kind of thing. So this is something that, just like what we talked about, the Molly, the record,
Yeah.
the Springsteen record, we see this and we say, I've never heard of this. Why? What is this?
It's also a label. I never heard of that label.
Yeah, it's like really obscure, but it's sampled so much. It's so incredible. So these are the consistent prices on Discogs all the time.
Wow.
Exactly. And it's a record, if you saw, you'd pass it up 1,000 times, unless you were interested in
Yeah.
like soul.
And
you
this gets sampled by all these different...
Yeah, there's no other explanation.
Yeah.
And again, we haven't gone far into this, but just to see this,
What condition was it in?
it's beautiful. So, I mean, almost everything we have is,
And how did you get that one?
again, just came. I have no idea whose collection it was in. It just shows
Wow.
up. Yeah, this happens all the time. Okay, this is my collector's story, right? $2.99 at the Record Rendezvous in Youngstown, Ohio, when I was a kid. It's
And that's-
better than the
that's-
stock market.
That's a real one.
Yeah, and it's got the 2 songs that aren't on the Capitol release. This is again. This is why we say you can't judge music in your own time, because EMI offers this to Capitol. Capitol says it's shit.
Right.
I'm not going to put it out. It goes to this small black-owned label, and they put it out, and then to Capitol gets mad.
This brings up my story. That's so sad. I was downtown New York, where the World Trade Center is, and there was a record store right across the street from it, and I bought songs, stories, and pictures of the Beatles on VJ, the one with the phone, in stereo, VJS 1092, which is very collectible. And I got to Cornell, and I said, I can't. I'm an adult now. I'm a college student. I can't have a record that has Paul loves Pastry Picture here, John loves. That's too icky. So I sold it for $1.
Well, what should have could is your whole life, right?
Well, I didn't. I kept most of my records, so I'm good like
but
that.
But did you buy a building down here when it was $20,000?
No, I didn't have $20,000 to even do that. But no.
Well, that's what should have could have. This is also this. We have two things that are probably over the top in terms of price. One is obviously Laurie's thing because it's art.
Yeah.
This
Can I show it?
On the back of a. Grandy Ballroom.
On the back of
a Grandy Ballroom promo thing, which goes for $800 by itself of Hendrix.
Yeah.
Signed by the whole band, which is pretty neat.
Okay. Yeah.
And I just had Linda sign this.
Cool.
Which is nice. Jodie Foster made me a sandwich and signed that. And it's always good to talk about food.
Yeah.
And Silence of the Lambs. Okay. So this is again.
That's the British pressing sold in America.
Well, white label handed out very early. White label mint with the poster and signed by the whole band, including Brian.
Wow! But I bet it's the British pressing.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
But in an American jacket, which was interesting.
Yeah. Well, it's I haven't compared. Yeah.
Yeah, but I'm sure if you took the record out, it would be the British pressing.
Yeah.
And they actually shipped a bunch over here.
Right.
And.
But it's the kind of thing where this was all from the Jeep Holland collection. That's Jeep started A Squared Records in Ann Arbor.
Was Jeep also was he in Boston at some point?
Yeah.
I knew him in Boston really well.
Yeah.
I knew.
And his house was sinking from the weight of his records.
Wow. Is he still alive?
No. He died quite a while ago.
Sure, of course I knew him.
And when you turn the camera off,
I'm more of a listener too. I'm a collector only in the records that I want to have. I'm not the fanatical.
But
people think.
But I also have things I really like that are signed. So
wow, you go Montenegro.
And Chic, of course, Niall's on my board. He's great. David was on the board, and he signed lots of nice things.
What copy is that?
I don't. Again, I collect.
It's an original American. Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. But we also have one that somebody in the family decorated with glitter all over it. It's pretty cool. And I have that one signed to me, which is nice. And lots of stuff. So Hotel California. Test pressing. Yeah. Also, Glenn Fry, my wife's first boyfriend in junior high in Michigan.
Who's first boyfriend?
My wife.
Oh, really? That's so funny.
Junior high, puppy love,
Puppy love, okay.
But, he came back to a junior high reunion.
Wow.
Imagine, we're hesitant to go back to a high school or a college reunion.
Yeah.
But it was a special class of he was not a musician. He was mostly an actor or trying an acting thing. And my wife was an amateur cellist at the time.
That must have been a gas for everybody who went to that.
Yeah, a very, very amazing. Again, Patti Smith.
And I think the master tape of that is burnt in the fire.
Really?
Because the version that came out a couple of years ago, the record, it didn't sound so great.
There's another recent follow-up story from the BBC about all of their television and radio programs. They just found original tapes of Doctor Who in Nigeria.
Had they get stolen, or who knows? You don't know.
It just was not taken care of. And again, that's almost contrary to our ideas about the BBC, right?
Yeah, it is. And like in America, they would just erase over a videotape and record the next show, right? And not thinking that maybe we should save it for some reason.
Well, I was in a small, I forgot what's the guy's name, studio in Louisiana where Paul Simon had done the Saints record, and or maybe it was, I think it was that. But anyway, he had Boozer Chavez play accordion, and he didn't like the takes, and it was a lot at 2-inch tape, and to save money, they overdubbed the tape.
Yeah.
So, but Paul's not exactly a spendthrift. But things like that. This, to me, is the greatest marketing thing ever. And I would have fired the guy at the meeting, right? Because think about it. these are coasters now, right? They're not going to be able to be played. This is our most at-risk materials.
So it's not really a CD, it's just a coaster?
It's going to be a coaster is what I'm saying in the future.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Because they won't be able to repair the machines.
You're right.
So anything mechanical, I mean, that's the thing to stress. My point is
turntables will continue to be fixed.
Well,
I'm convinced that we're good forever.
Right. Well, the story I tell is, and I'll tell it this thing, is that if you have a bicycle wheel, a rubber band, sewing needles, and a cone of paper, you can listen to
That's
a
right.
record.
That's why those metallized parts that Scientologists had, if those turntables don't work, someone will figure out that I can stick a pine cone needle in there and get sound out.
Well, you remember the earliest needles were bamboo.
Yeah. And they're still making cartridges using bamboo cantilevers. Really expensive ones, too, with a special bamboo that comes from Japan. And
anything from Japan is really expensive when it comes to turntables.
Yeah.
This is nice, too. This is, as far as we know, the only commercially released DAT.
No, I have that on record, of course.
Right.
Love
because
that
of the
band.
title, of course, they thought they'd do a DAT.
Yeah,
and
I
they
love
were
that.
wrong, right?
Love that band. Don't like DATs.
Yeah. Well, actually, Colin had this great place in. Well, see, when I was, you know, the book that I did, right? The Volume. Do you know Volume? The punk discography. This is the first major work on punk.
Oh.
And so this is worth more than a Faulkner first edition, okay? Because nobody sells them.
This book.
Yeah, and it's just literally done in its own time. It's 730 pages and really tries to chronicle everything. And this was at the same time that I was doing radio shows with John Peel in London. Yeah. So I went to his house, went through every record he had and all of his singles because everybody gave him everything. And I worked out of the Rough Trade office. So everybody who came through, you know, Pauline Black and Laura Logic and Tom Petty, all these people who was ever coming through London wanted to sell their records, they would hand you a copy because they thought you were important. So,
that's great.
Yeah, so this was like the only person who had done anything similar was Greg Shaw and Bomp.
Right.
He had done a really thin version of garage and early punk, I guess, proto-punk music. Yeah. And so that was the only thing that existed at the time. So this was the first big project that I did right after Laurie's records. And then this was the third failed project. Anyway, this is our favorite signed thing of Iggy, also from Detroit. And Jeep, I think, took that photo.
And who was that being signed? She looks famous.
I know everybody says the same thing. Is it Lisa? Anyway, there's all these. Yeah, nobody knows. We should publicize. We should give it to Iggy and see if he knows.
She kind of looks. She looks. I don't know.
She's the happiest girl in the world. That's at the time. So this is there's major battles going on as to who the real Bob George is on the Black Album. We'd asked Prince for money and he said no, but he thought my name was really funny because it's Robert John George, and he said, "Oh yeah, your parents never gave you a last name." So I'm gonna say it's me. So we're unclear. Things like this, like, you know, we have, you know, we pull out the junk. The junk's the most interesting stuff. So Burt Reynolds is like an.
Oh, I love that. Oh, yeah, look at that. Why did he do that? Do we know? Was he desperate?
I think money. Yeah. Well, it could be Long John Holmes. But people have said they're so similar looking. So we're gonna.
Oh yeah. It does look like Burt, though, but who knows? I think a lot of people looked like that in those days.
Well, this is unusual, but that's a video disc. That's why. It's the cover that was used for the advertisements in the papers, so it wasn't used on the record or the film.
And so this is literally this is the archives, all this stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, then these are, we sort of separate things out. This is the Hitler disc I told you about. That's a facsimile, though. A real one is just unapproachable.
And this is a facsimile?
Yeah. That people put out. There's lots of Hitler, right? And whenever we have our sale and we have anything to do with Hitler, it sells really well.
I know. He has longevity. Let's give him credit for that.
Exactly. And we have, like, you know... And we have, I'll show you sections. We keep sections of things that are about ideas because that's what people ask for in terms of searches. So we'll have, you know, Black God, Catholic God, Protestant God, you know, records with records on the front, records with cocktails on the front, dogs, cats, things like that. So dictators are my favorite ones. So we've gotten lots of Idi Amin and assassins and dictators and sex. Sex is
Did you ever see that bootleg record called The Beatles versus the Third Reich?
No, I've seen it versus the Four Seasons.
No, the Beatles versus the Third Reich. I've saw it in Detroit. I almost bought it, but
Well,
I just...
this is a problem with the internet. People are creating wonderful fake covers.
Yep.
And I think, I should try to find this recording, but it's not there. And it's hard to know.
Yeah.
People are both creative and creepy. Both.
It's easy to spoof things now. That's the problem.
Yeah.
Well,
This is another favorite thing. Anything about...
that's not a mirror, by the way. That's a room.
Yeah, we got more.
That's
Four
not...
floors, 4 spaces this size. So anyway, the idea, of course, the scariest thing in the world. Learn ventriloquism on a record, Mike, right?
I've got one of those from which ventriloquist was it? I forget which it is.
It's usually Charlie McCartney.
Yeah. It's the other guy. Is it
Jimmy Nelson.
who is Farfel?
Yeah, that's it. Jimmy Nelson.
That's the one. Jimmy Nelson. I've got that one.
We've got 6 versions. There's different versions.
Oh, I didn't know
So we
that.
keep, again, we're very unusual for a library. We'll keep every version of a recording.
Of course.
So no other library does that. You realize that? No library does it.
Well,
they'll keep. Think about the way the world is going now. You are buying a title, and you're getting an MP3 of a song. You do not know the provenance. You do not know which album it was taken from.
That's
or
right.
which session. So people aren't keeping sessionographies anymore.
Yeah.
A real discography, like most jazz people will do a sessionography.
Right.
Because they want to know where every take of every John Coltrane record appeared.
Right.
You're buying a song. Think about it. It's like...
It's sad. I think it's sad that people are streaming. Streaming's great. I like streaming because I like to find out what's available.
Right.
But then if you only stream, what are you going to have in 20 years? What's your memory? You have nothing.
So you just...
Apple won't exist in 40 years, okay?
Yeah.
It's the way of the world, and no corporation lasts, only institutions last, and they're kind of sloppy, right?
But this was not supposed to last. This was not supposed to come back. And
Right.
it's come back.
Right, but we don't just save this, we save every format.
Yeah.
We don't really care.
Yeah.
I mean, I have 700,000 CDs, right?
Right.
I mean, it's not like one thing or the other.
That'll
it's just
be
that this is the most... Look, these are the size of a pet,
Yeah.
so you can love them. You can't love a CD.
No, and I hate what they sound like. And I hate.
See, now I don't care.
Oh, can't listen to them.
What I don't like is if it's a CD of a sound recording that I know existed in vinyl.
Yeah.
I stand up in the middle of the CD to turn it over. Next Tuesday, because it's the end of Rosh Hashanah.
Oh, right.
Okay,
Yeah.
and we'll talk then.
Okay.
Or you can do your summary again.
Yeah. If you guys aren't open next Tuesday, would be maybe...
You have to talk to Fred.
Okay.
I don't know. It's up to him because I'm
Yeah.
out of town.
Right. No.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Sounds good. Thanks.
Now, do you have a copy of my comedy album here? If not,
Sounds kind of familiar.
I can take a joke. If you don't have one, I should give you.
We'll check the comedy section.
I should give you one.
Because we've actually cataloged the comedy section. We'll have a look.
Definitely have one.
But it's like, so anyway, so what I'm saying about what I dislike and like why are there 5 different versions of the Beatles oeuvre, right? Because it's terrible each time.
That's
So
right.
that's the first reason. But the secondary thing, things are surface that weren't meant to be heard, and they're too loud.
That's exactly
or
right.
they're jingly or a little too, I think, high pitched. I mean, things
That's
are
right.
really tinny. I mean, I can't listen to a Motown album on CD.
Terrible.
They can't do the horns. They can't do pianos
That's
well.
right.
And I'm not an audiophile at all.
But you are.
Well, I'm just saying I can put on. I have done that. I've done one test in my whole life, and that was "What's Going On," Marvin Gaye, right?
Oh.
And I just there's no comparison between the 2 items.
No.
And it seems then just rude to play the CD. The words. I mean, kids still are singing the song, and that's what goes on.
It's coming back, though. It is. The value of good recording and good sound is coming back.
Right. But the biggest problem with the industry. Now, do you know who Arletty is? An incredibly beautiful and famous French actress.
No.
This is a really pretty. It's again rare but not valuable. Do you know what I mean? There's
Yeah.
that kind of distinction.
Yeah.
And important, but it's like Boris Vian. Do you know Boris Vian?
No.
Boris Vian was the liaison for every single black artist who went to Paris to play.
Huh.
So he was the guy who got them booze and dope and women, and he also wrote a high percentage of all of the Olympia Press stuff.
Huh.
And he was a cornet player, and so his legacy, he has lots of records too. He's an okay player, but basically was to make sure that black people had a good time and could work when they were in Paris.
Well, they certainly had a better time in Europe at that point in time than they had in America.
Yes.
That is for sure. And the bar wasn't set too high.
Because a lot of people were actually lighter skinned, and so now you're like from an Arab country, and you're not considered. You're just visiting, and it was really an interesting ploy to try to get into places you couldn't normally get in. You know.
What a world.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Here's the Bowie collection.
There's a lot of stuff.
Oh, I'm sure he must have donated.
Sorry, let me just. So then this.
I've got a reissue of that record. It's quite good, actually. Jimmy Rolls, it's a good record.
So these 78s get shipped to Philadelphia. First, George Blood. Do you know George Blood?
No.
George Blood. He does a lot of the migration for the Smithsonian and Folkways. He does all of the digitization for the Internet Archive, and then it gets stored in San Francisco. This is nice too. These are some of the early labels from handmade labels and mimeograph labels from Jamaica. It's hard to tell now. They're so bootlegged. It's like people are so good at making fakes.
When I went to Negril for the first time in '72, I bought a lot of singles. I look them up online. They're not. I have a bunch that are done like that, but they're not valuable. But they're fun to have.
It's a lot of these, the first Bob Marleys and things like that, they're pretty good. And then things like this, these are really slot loaded.
Oh, this is the RCA video disc where you have a stylus that with a capacitor.
Yeah, you don't touch the thing.
Right.
So, and then this is some of the Keith Richards stuff. We keep swapping out as much as possible, finding a better and better copy as things come in. But I always like this about these records. You could either have a Cadillac or a mule.
Was that record on Riverside originally? That country blues? I don't know.
There's so much stuff. That's why you would see all the 78s too. So then these are the CDs we take out of the jewel case and put in a archive.
Wow.
And everybody speaks English, so it's like really, it's an
And
interesting.
they're very serious audiophiles in the Philippines. I've been there.
And then these are their first 12 Sun LPs. And Johnny Cash had come through and signed about 20 for us, actually.
I've got a few of those as reissues. I've got the original of that. I've got a bunch of those.
One one we've never found and seen is supposedly there was a Johnny Cash done, or a Carl Perkins done the same way. Instead of a guitar dangling, it's shoes.
Huh.
What I like is that they thought that those were good-looking teenagers to put on the cover.
Oh, that's so funny.
They're really operatic. This is Nina. She's hired at work.
Hi there.
How are you?
I'm good.
And then these are some of the artists. Some of the artists cover. Some of them are by illustrators.
Oh, yeah, there's the Jackie. Who did that Command cover? I may have that. I not even know him as a famous artist.
If this is Fred's prerogative, I'm not real sure about all this stuff. This is mine here. This is mine. The God covers. I'm starting a big collection.
Yeah, somebody gave me I have that Milt Jackson record. Who did that cover? That's so weird. I have these things. I don't even know.
Yeah, you have to look them up.
Well, that I know is someone like you. I know who did that cover. It's pretty obvious.
So
That's so cool.
we're starting. This is like this is our bet. Somebody gives 100,000 45. So we have to go through them. A lot of them are jukebox. They're just like terrible.
Do you ever feel like you're not catching up to it? It's more's coming in than you can.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But look at this. This is something we told not to send. We don't accept things if they're not complete. So he sent them without the rear cards. So we said no, we won't accept them, and they sent them anyway.
So now what do you do with them?
Well, we'll get them to a charity,
Well, you
another
have
charity.
one of your sales.
Well, we can't. Who's gonna? It's really hard. If a nickel a piece, maybe.
Yeah, somebody would take that and throw it, digitize it and put it on their server and have it, and they get the information.
I'm looking for maybe a skeet shooting club.
No, I think a lot of people who have like
Right. A lot of people just want the music in there.
if they have Rune, they'll load it up on their computer and
Yeah.
they don't want the disc
Like
anyway.
a lot of these. So this is part of the Brazilian one. You saw that picture of like Zero Fritas, right? The guy in Brazil.
Yes.
Who had millions. So we set up his database for him, and he gave us 25,000 Brazilian records, which
Really?
is fabulous. So
Now, what is the story with that guy?
it's nuts, just another nuts guy with lots of money. He basically runs the long lines between Sao Paulo, which is the business capital, and Brasilia and Buenos Aires, which is very close that
Right.
way, and Rio de Janeiro that way. So everything's in cash. So he has this incredible business, but it's also dependent on the government. So it goes in and out of being.
But he's got
gets paid.
really crappy turntables. I saw videos of what is wrong with that guy? It's like
It's about accumulation, but he has such incredible collections.
I know.
He bought. I mean, we brokered one deal for him. There's a very beautiful book called Bossa Nova. Have you ever seen this book? And it's every Bossa Nova cover ever made. I'll show you a copy. It's incredible. We're going to have one at our sale because we got some extras. And the guy had every Bossa cover, every record in perfect condition, and we brokered the sale to zero. So he has this stuff. He showed me the first Gaetano Veloso record of FlexiDisc selling shaving cream. I mean, it's like, he has such a great amount of stuff. And he has 30, 40, 50 copies of the same record sometimes.
Yeah.
He just buys and buys. He's just...
When is he going to sell and sell?
We don't know. We don't know what's going to do. He bought a whole block in Sao Paulo to build a little office museum or whatever.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens. It's an ongoing story. We love him because he, in order to help us, he'll buy everything at the end of our sale. He'll just buy it to help us. So that's good.
That's
anyway,
great.
but a lot of these things are impossible to get, or they're really pretty pricey. Brazilian is the largest vinyl market in the world.
I know it's big. I have to go down there at some point.
And so this is the Brian Jones Jujuka.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah, and things like
I have a promo copy of that. Okay.
I know. It's like, see, I hate collectors.
Well, I'm not one up saying. I just happen to have it
I know, it's good. But there's a lot of stuff.
because I'm on the radio.
So what
at
we
the
do
time.
is, exactly. So we focused on, this is the music from the greater Muslim world, and that was Brazil. We did one on Cuba and one on India. So I told you, the one thing I still want to go and get is, the Beatles 78s from India.
Yeah.
Well, if you want an address, I can give you a guy who has a whole garage full.
I'm
You'll
going-
see the
I'm going with
greatest
it.
collection in the world.
Well.
But mostly it's Beatles and Cliff Richards on 78s. But yeah. And this is my own design for shelving, which is unbelievably inexpensive.
And sturdy.
Well, it's all connected. It's all one piece. Every piece is connected to every other piece.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that
To
is.
keep it from tipping, and
It's never going to
and
go over.
They're tied into the wall and then to each other. But this kind of shelving,
It's funny when you come to a place like this. Well, this is the only place that is like this. But when you come here and you see all these records, you can't begin to start looking through records because it's so overwhelming. You can't.
Well, you'll meet Fred. Oh, you don't know Fred? Do you know Fred from he used to work in the business? Fred, this is Michael. He's looking at stuff. We're gonna work together on this panel. So this is what a front page of the India Music Week would look like when you printed it all out. And basically, the whole center column is just concerts that we had performed at the time, all over the world. If you go online, you get a sense of how much stuff goes on. And there's Freddie's story on turbans.
Wow. I say wow a lot when I'm overwhelmed.
It's a lot of stuff.
Usually when Usually when I do these things, I'm overwhelmed wherever I go. I go to a pressing plant.
Well, as you were saying about that, what Fred does with every new record that comes in, it gets compared to the one on the shelf to make sure that they are either unique or we don't need it. And then that goes to the sale.
Yeah.
So this is our... but this is all memorabilia, and that's what Maddox is working on. The kid that just left, going to start indexing it.
And you save 8 tracks too.
Yeah. Oh, I'll show you.
Wow.
Want to see a great one?
God.
The greatest 8-track ever made.
Wow.
So you did it again.
That's another wow.
No, this is the topper of just
Tetragrammaton. Yeah, I've got the regular record, but I can imagine when they made this.
Well, I mean, again, this was mostly for truck drivers and
Yeah.
country people. So most of the 8-tracks were, middle of the road pop and country.
Yeah.
So what's the guy comes in? I want a Tammy Wynette. I'll take a Furlan Husky, and give me that 2 version. So these are fake Beatles records. So that's the
These are all
Brazilian
fake
Beatles.
Beatles
Yeah,
records?
people who say they're Beatles. Here's a Hey Jude in Polka Time.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Yeah. Okay. And then these are the real ones. And
Do you have a stereo song, stories, and pictures of the Beatles? Just so I can.
You'd have to ask Fred. Fred, do we have, what is it again?
Song, stories, and pictures of the Beatles on VJ.
I believe we do.
A stereo copy? It's got to be stereo.
It's gotta be stereo.
Because don't laugh at me.
I do have that.
You're laughing at me. Look at this place. It's got. I just want to relive my youth and my stupidity. I want to. This is going to be. I'm going to suffer. If you don't have one, it's going to be like serves you right.
What good are we, right?
Serves you right to suffer. How did I get rid of that record? How stupid! And it sounded incredible. It was VJ did a great show. They had great sounding records actually.
Let's move on and we'll let Fred struggle. Okay.
I'm sorry to press you to do this.
No. This is interesting to find out.
There it is in mono. Big deal.
Oh, now I remember it. The cover.
Yeah, big deal. Mono. It's stereo's hard to
Yeah, but look at
find.
how many different versions there are.
We have the one that die cut.
Die cut and opens.
Yeah.
Yeah, sure. And that's why I got rid of it. Anybody don't know this. I had this in stereo, VJS 1092. It's extremely rare. They don't even have one at the Archive of Contemporary Music. And then I got rid of it because on the back it said Ringo loves paste here, Paul loves paste here, and I'm supposed to put my picture there. I just don't think would be good look for me to have a picture of myself.
But we do have 4 versions of it. That's something, isn't it?
I didn't know there were 4 versions of it, but none in stereo.
Label variations. None in stereo.
None in stereo. That's how difficult it is to get, and that's the Laserdisc version of Anthology. I've got that too.
Excuse me.
I've got some stuff.
We don't doubt your.
And I have a Laserdisc player too to watch it.
But anyway, so these are comedy records. I'll look on the computer to find yours.
Yeah, see if I'm there.
These are
I could be under Jewish, or I could be under.
I don't think you'd be under Jewish. Anyway, you're not Jewish enough. You didn't do stand up. You didn't do stand up. But then this is all. A lot of this is Billy Adler. Do you know who Billy is? Billy Adler was the promo person for Def Jam.
Didn't know him.
And like all Jews, he collects Christmas records.
Of course. And like all Jews, they make Christmas records.
Right.
Mel Torme did all.
Yeah. Well, you know the joke, right? Why do Jews make Christmas records? Because they got nothing to do that month.
That's right. I mean, Mel Torme and Irving Berlin, you got all the great ones.
So there's a lot of stuff, and then this is reggae, African. This is mostly Caribbean.
You don't have a separate section for audiophile records, right?
No.
It's a legitimate.
Some labels we have separated out.
It's a legitimate.
And then this is Latin, obviously, and then this here is a lot of Latin is all the way at the top and put away. There's so much. So this is the R&B and blues stuff that's Keith's collection. And then these are 45s. And 78s and CDs, and these are 78s.
You know, there will be people that will comment on this video goes up saying, you should have gone through every record and shown us the jackets.
This is something to see. This is every single Folkways. 2 copies of each sealed. So.
Oh, Rounder records. And do you have all the Word records?
Yeah, we definitely have. But this is all the Smithsonian Folkways. It's just all this.
Wow. Somebody dropped off to me a collection of Word records. It was a church that had done all these things and collected all these records, and they wanted to know what the value was, so they dropped them off.
That's the gospel label, the white.
What's that?
Is it the gospel label Word?
Yeah, Word.
White,
yeah. From Waco,
white
Texas,
gospel.
I think. Yeah. And some of the records in there the jackets were fantastic, and I kept them because the jackets were so fantastic.
Yeah. This is our processing room. This is when things come in. And then this is the stuff that's getting set up for the next sale, and the things. This is Asian, Indian, and Brazilian. Here, children's records on the top. things like this. We had this. Okay, so usually we set up on tables. But this, all these boxes, somebody gave a guy who ran Adventure Music, Michael Zarinsky, Richard Zarinsky, and his sister Susan Zarinsky, who's
She's
the
the
new head
producer on
of CBS News.
Yeah.
She's been made. The family is so wonderful and generous, and so he had 42,000 CDs, mostly Brazilian.
In all those.
Yeah, and we'll never get to it.
Who collected those?
Him, Richard Zarinsky.
He just collected them?
Evidently, he has hundreds of Elvis Costello concerts off the boards.
Yeah.
Hundreds. I mean, we're going,
Yeah.
this guy paid for them, produced them, stole them, bought them, whatever. We just
Yeah.
can't figure it out. So his biggest collections were on Gregory Isaacs and Elvis Costello. So it's very odd.
Interesting.
Yeah. Plus, his own label, Adventure Music, is mostly middle-of-the-road Brazilian jazz.
Yeah.
But what comes with that was hundreds and hundreds of box sets of
Wow.
this stuff that we'll have 3 copies of. So we're going to have out at our sale. And it's just, I've got 96 CD set of Gilberto Gil. I got, it's overwhelming how much stuff is going to be.
Look, here's a Mercury Living Presence just sitting on the floor.
It's going to be sold. Probably be $1.
It's a first pressing. Hold this for one second. I want to look at the condition.
Put your hand out there.
Let's just see. Oh, it's in the original. Oh. It's very clean. It's a FR1. They used to cut these right to the label. It's A1. So this is the first. This is it. This is the original.
And
Unfortunately,
it'll probably be $1.
they had really bad pressings. You can see the dimple right there. That's
Right.
going to go ba-bum, ba-bum, right in the soft spot, right in the quiet part. But that's okay. It'll still be great.
It'll still be $1.
Anatole Dorati and the Minneapolis. Wow.
Because we don't know anything we don't collect classical. When we started,
You don't?
No, because
Oh.
when we started, I went and looked at other libraries and collections in the area, and
Yeah.
Lincoln Center, and Carnegie Hall, and Rodgers and Hammerstein collection,
Yes.
and New York Public, NYU, Columbia. They all were predominantly collecting classical.
Yeah.
Sometimes, obviously, Rodgers and Hammerstein is doing show tunes.
Yes.
And they're doing other things. But remember, when does the Jazz at Lincoln Center start? 95.
Right.
Should have been 1933.
Of course. But, I mean,
Right. I mean, not that they didn't have jazz records or nice collections, but the point is, so we decided, okay, that's really being covered, and it's not every collection takes on the character of its curators.
of course.
And so I wasn't interested. And
Yeah,
so we
I
just
get
said
that.
no. So yeah.
Now-
So almost everything on the wall is gone. These are leftovers from the sale.
For the sale.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and 11 boxes go to Brazil of stuff.
That's a great pressing. That is the original British pressing of. I think it is. Yeah. This. It's the sound on that record is so
Right. So,
spectacular.
and you can see this is something Mr. Zarinsky bought, and he bought out a whole store.
Yeah. Wow.
Because we found these all with this one label. We're trying to figure out which store it was. But they're all that way. So we look at Discogs, we look at Pop Psych, and we'll take 25% or more off
Oh, that's
what they
good.
sell for to get people in here and to get it.
So these didn't sell. So that was the Esquivel done by
Right.
what's his name? That's the label in New Jersey. I forgot the name. I've got that record.
Right. But almost everything sells. We really do well with it.
So these are going to be part of the next sale.
Yeah, we'll leave them over. They're things we decided we wouldn't give to Brazil because we wanted to have some other nice things left
Right.
for the next sale. I'll show you some things now too.
Yeah.
So again, this is
Selling any now? Can I buy any now?
you can buy anything you want.
Okay.
Yeah. But anyway, so this is the kind of stuff that came in from Zarinsky's
Oh,
collection. Beautiful things. I mean, Nana Kayemi. I mean, it's just endless amount of box sets. Again, all from this one. A lot of it from this one store. But
Right.
this is nice to have, right?
Oh yeah.
And a lot of these things we found. We sold one of our Gil sets for $300, and people say, "Oh, it's $700 in Brazil," things like that. So it's enormous amount of stuff. We're just going through a whole box. So they were packed to the gills. So this is Fred going through this.
Wow.
It's and so much jazz, good jazz. We at least have 300 Miles Davis CDs, whether you want them or not. Anyway,
Yeah.
So this is another thing I want to show people. This is
Is that-
we did a show. So the Internet Archive has the rights to make available to anyone any live concert done by the Grateful Dead. So all of the collectors have gotten together with Bob Weir and the lawyers of the survivors, and everybody's reached an agreement that okay, these people recorded it, we gave them permission for it. So what we had is maybe 300 or 400 of these hand-drawn cassettes, because they didn't put as much care into the display for the DATs.
Right.
But the earlier tapers had done all this work and trying to make them interesting.
I said wow again. I said wow again. Get on my case.
No, it's just because we have hundreds and hundreds of these hand-decorated things, which we think are great.
Boy, I tell you, my story of doing a bootleg thing, I was at Paul's Mall in Boston, and Little Feat were playing, and this is when Lowell George was dating Bonnie Raitt, so she sang backup, and I was on the radio, so I got right to him, and I said, I have a tape recorder. Can I record the concert? He says, sure, go ahead. So I had a stereo tape recorder with super Avalon, good tape, good microphones, sitting in the front row, recorded the whole thing. It came out fantastic. It was like as good as you could get. And I'm packing it up, and somebody steals the 2 tapes off the table. So, and I felt really bad. I felt bad because it was the bootleg era. I felt somebody was
only you had a chip in there that was recording at the same time.
Yeah, man, 1973, not going to have it. And I went over.
73. That's early tape recorders were only becoming available in 72.
It was a stereo Sony 158 SD, so maybe it was a little bit later.
What did I have? A DC5M? Was that the right one?
Yeah, that was later, I think.
Yeah, much later.
And so I went over to Lowell George in the bar, and I said, I am so sorry. The tape got stolen. And it was a great show. I've seen it before. He reaches into his pocket, pulls out a joint, and says, hey, man, don't worry about it. Just smoke this. We play that well every night. It was so great.
That's a good attitude. Yeah, I remember, like I said, being in India in 71 and seeing rich hippies who had cassette players. And we were going, what are those? How you can take your music with you. What a good idea.
Yeah. Rich hippies. So now what's the story with this introducing the Beatles? Not genuine. It's a bootleg.
Yeah, that's what it is.
You can see the cover is really booty.
Well, they say, again, I'm not an expert, but I just had to look this up. If you don't see the shadow, it's a good chance.
And it looks Xeroxed or something.
Yeah, it's clean. This is good to show. So this is the kind of stuff. So I don't know if you know, like there were in the 70s, there were 3 main places that you listen to music. It's Fillmore, East and West, and then the Grandee in Detroit. That was the other big hall. And so Russ, again, I went to school in Ann Arbor, so I knew all these people, John Sinclair and Jeep and Russ Gibbs. So Russ came by, I guess 20 years ago, and gave us 100 each of every concert poster and every handout from the Grandee, which most were done by Gary Grimshaw, which is a well-known artist at the time. So, and so we're just for the first time we're sending some to the auction house because they're all mint.
Wow! Look at now, wow again, and that's a worthwhile wow.
Well, but this will go between 8,000 and 15,000 because they're just so perfect. And so we had...
And who thought to keep these? Only a few people thought to keep these things.
Well, he kept them because they were in his warehouse. So we had 100. And you open them, you almost faint from the smell of the ink.
Yeah.
Because they were all done. And we talked to Gary before he died, I think last year. And
ink poisoning?
I don't know.
Sorry.
Well, he lived to be pretty old. But I'm just saying, because he was 25 when I was 18. So anyway, but... he said, and he's very ethical. Whenever he does a reprint or a new version, he'll put it on the bottom that it's what year it was done.
This is an original.
Yeah, so these are all from
what else is in there? You got
1967, 68.
You got to flip them for me.
Well, there's a lot. And these are depending on the level. And the number just means how many copies we had. Detroit Windsor Bach Festival. This was our last dance party we had.
I'm sure Jack White will be buying a lot of those Detroit-based.
I hope so. We need his help. This is beautiful.
Well, that's really good.
And that's one of my favorites.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember that poster for some reason.
Cream.
Ooh.
Ooh, one that's out of the sleeve. That's not good. Yes, this is the only one that has a slight defect.
Yeah.
All of them.
So Craig Campbell will say, "No, I don't want it."
No, I gave him posters already, so he's like, Ozzy signed this for us. Now again, people don't remember, right? Who were they? Weren't Blood, Sweat, and Tears and Creedence? These were the big guys at the time.
Yeah.
Compared to the others. So anyway.
Yeah.
This is just one that came in recently from San Francisco, going through some of the stuff. But these are basically ours. This is Lois Weiss. Now, Lois Weiss does the real estate column for the Post, but she was one of the principals of the Joshua Light Show.
Oh.
Okay, so she then gave us 10 boxes of ticket stubs and backstage passes. I mean, big boxes. So this was her and her card.
Lois
at the time.
Zelman, okay.
Right, now Lois Weiss. She got married. But it's endless of these backstage passes and ticket stubs to every concert she ever went to.
The Rolling Stones in concert. Boy, she went to a lot of good concerts.
She was also, well, she was actually she was a professional screamer for the Beatles and things like that.
So the Ed Sullivan Show, so that must have been one of the Beatles tickets. Yeah, March 14th.
She also was a Joe Pirro dancer on TV. I mean, she's all these sort of, a boogaloo dancer. Yeah. But there's 10 boxes. This is 1/2 of 1/3 of a box.
So you'd want to sell this as a box, right? I mean, you'd want to sell.
I never want to sell anything.
Oh, I
We're
forgot.
an archive.
I forgot.
I mean,
Well, you sell some stuff.
third copies.
Yeah, third copies. Okay, this is.
It's just fabulous that it's so much.
Yeah, look at that.
So anything she had, I just through.
She kept
I take these. No, I did this. These were just thrown into a box. So I took old baseball card sheets and cut them down and put them inside this book. Yeah, I know people don't do this.
No. Rolling Stone. Look at that. It's just insane.
I know. It's just so much stuff. But it's the fact that it's her whole life. Do you know what I mean? She did this all the time.
Yeah. What a great thing to do.
Yeah.
As far as I'm concerned.
And that she saved it.
Yeah. Wow. I said wow again. Sorry.
There were
Why would I not say wow?
It's just like stickers.
BCN. Let me see the BCN thing. Where'd it go? There it is. BCN 104.1. Yeah.
I don't know what's on in here.
Well, I have the shirt.
These were the inserts. Somebody from APCO sent over a whole bunch of stuff. A capstone project, which means instead of doing a treatise for your doctorate, you can work on a project and do something that has some practical value. Okay, so he says
called the capstone.
Yeah, and it's a really interesting idea. So he says, okay, I'm going to start going through your memorabilia boxes. So he lifts up a T-shirt. The second thing he finds is this. It is a.
Oh, I know Howard Wolfen. He's still a publicist.
Yeah. A poems by Rick Ocasek, signed and numbered, and sewn by Paulina, the supermodel.
Wow.
And so we immediately sent this off
said wow
to
again,
part of
sorry.
the auction house stuff, right? They came down within 10 minutes to pick it up because they said, yes, this would do well. And so we have 3 copies, so we kept 2. But it's the fact that he was so excited because he's, here he is just starting off. This is the first thing he finds. This is what I meant about the collection.
Yeah.
We've been getting things for 34 years. We don't know what we have until people take the time to go through it.
Yeah.
Because we save everything, we've got an advantage. We don't make choices. But this is signed by W.C. Handy.
Wow.
Yeah.
1946.
Yeah. So towards the end of his career, but that's when he's doing his books.
So this is not somebody's collection. It's something you guys.
No, these are just stuff as we find things. We just sort of put it away. Things like this. These are ripped off this, pole or something. But this is Laura Levine, who's a friend of ours and has done a cover for us in the past for our records.
Wow, you know what maybe I'll give you, because what do I need it for? Oh no, BCN Rock the Boat. Fred Schneider.
Love it. Yeah. Whatever it is, I just sort of we're starting to just put them in plastic and to try to get them in better shape. We just love the fact that somebody just cut it out, right?
Because they wanted to show the label.
Yeah, but there's so much
Jack
stuff.
White.
Yeah, there's so much stuff like this. I want to show you the lobby cards though when we go.
Okay.
But Cliff May was a big collector anyway. So that's it. And we have a lot of this kind of stuff. And this is what hurts. Right? This is very rare and very valuable. Both records are broken.
Broken.
78s, yeah. And it's just hard and impossible to keep. This is interesting. This is a kind of music from out of Brazil called guitarrada. and it's here. Hold that.
That's
It's
styrofoam
balsa.
or something.
Yeah. So it's balsa wood.
Oh.
So
Whoa.
so what they do, this area in Pernambuco in Brazil also produces all the wood for every bow in the world.
Oh.
So there you have to have a Pernambuco wood and bow handle for your classical music. And they also have balsa.
They didn't burn that
obviously.
place down yet?
No, they're pretty protective. But this
good.
was like a really nice thing they brought up for us. And we have lots of these tune totes in different kinds. Lots of things, you know, we love the children's records, the early ones. We have lots of.
It's the Tune Tote.
Yeah.
Put your records in the Tune Tote and carry it to your friend's house and have a record party.
Exactly. And it was like kids with their phone now. You get judged what songs you had by what you had in your tune
Yeah.
tote. But the children's records are
Howdy
great, too.
doody, of course.
And we have lots of bozos.
Lots of
I'm going
bozos.
to show you
Lots of
one
bozos and
more
congas.
booklet that you like. What are we going to talk about? We don't have to worry about what we're going to talk about, right?
What's that?
Do we have to worry about what we're going to talk about in L.A.? Is that the reason you're here? For that conference?
Oh, for making
vinyl?
vinyl? Oh, basically, I'm moderating some panels.
No, I'm on the panel.
Oh, you're on my panel?
That's why we're talking.
Are you on my panel?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't know.
That's why I asked you to come.
Oh, I haven't looked. I haven't looked. I have not looked.
Oh my God.
I'm
dealing with amateurs here.
Yeah, no, what I am is a next day person. I look the day before to see what I have going the next day, and I don't have time to process the information of the day before or remember any of it. That's just a fact.
Well, here's something I want to show you too. And this is also the this came with the posters from.
How embarrassing for me, but I'm going to leave this on the film.
So.
When was that? What year?
Again, I believe these were all. This was the 10 for 2 concert at Fair John Sinclair. And
Ooh. Yeah, I saw Hendrix, the Soft Machine, and Janis Joplin and Big Brother in the holding company at the Singer Bowl.
well, like everybody who tells lies about Woodstock, and this is the one. This is my lie, but it's actually true. I woke up in a daze at like 4:30 in the morning, literally this far from where Hendrix starts the concert.
Wow.
And everybody was soaking wet. I was in a sleeping bag with somebody I've never met, and it just woke me up. And my memory was it was the first song he played, but obviously it was a lie. But everything in the film was a lie. Nobody applauded. Nobody did anything. Everybody was soaking wet.
I'm sure.
And it was just like
I was there for only the
and
first day. Then
yeah.
I couldn't.
And it woke me up. Oh, I had friends. This is really funny. I was a fake folk singer in Boston, so I'm hitchhiking back to Ohio. Friends of mine see me hitchhiking going the other way and saying we're going to Woodstock, and I said, what's that? Okay, so I get with them. They have an SUV with maybe 30-40 pounds of steaks, 20 cases of beer.
Oh my God, they were smart people.
Yeah, and we go there, and I there wasn't a place to sleep. I slept underneath the van when I could,
That's
but it was
fine.
wet. But it was like I had the greatest time of my life. And my little sister was in the van, and she was like 12. And so she was with them. So it was like a whole people from Poland, Ohio, first city of the Western Reserve.
See, I went there with 3 friends. We didn't bring a sleeping bag. We didn't bring food. We didn't bring water. We just got in the car and went.
Yeah.
How stupid is that? We were very stupid.
Well, you'll know the next time. But anyway, but this is so beautiful that these are, because they saved everyone. And so you have a real history of what happened. You know, rather than seeing a list of who appeared.
Of course.
You know, this is great.
I'm gonna try to remember to bring that thing from Max's Kansas City with me too, and give it to you on the stage. Okay.
That'd be great. And try to remember to bring that collector or the guy. You know, we're trying to get somebody to just. You said you did you go to Cornell or you teach there? We approached them. They sent us a night note. So we have they bought Africa Bombata collection, right? You know that.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
By the way, there's another thing to say. Nothing has ever been purchased. I mean, I buy junk records. I buy dollar records, right? But everything's donated. So Lou's legacy is owned by not just Laurie, but Lou's sister. So they have to then work out what's going to happen to it. Plus we're, there's some advantage obviously to go to New York Public because it's a major institution with a lot of money behind it.
Sure.
We're not.
Yeah.
It's like I got Jerry Box Records, who did Fiddler on the Roof, right?
Right, sure.
I got all his records, but his papers went to New York Public.
Oh.
So we haven't gotten that status to get papers. I did get David Byrne's Luakabop stuff, right?
Yeah.
But it's the kind of thing where we're not institutionalized enough for people to trust us with the stuff, and I understand that.
Yeah.
But we've got sprinklers. They've got sprinklers.
Right.
It all could disappear in a minute,
Right.
right? Anyway, but this is nice to see the Doors one.
Now, whose collection is this?
This is again from Russ Gibbs.
Oh, that's so
And
beautiful.
Some of it's Russ's, and some of it's Jeep's. We pulled it
Incredible.
all together.
Incredible.
And this we've all cataloged. But you see, this is what's left too. But I had at least 10 of every one.
Do
of
you
them.
ever take this on the road? Will you ever take some of these things on the road and make a display at a?
Well, we did with the Grateful Dead stuff,
Right.
But no, we haven't really. I mean, we haven't really marketed ourselves up until recently. We didn't need money because it was so cheap to be down here.
Yeah, but
But
do you own this building?
No,
No.
This is why we have to move. Why
Oh.
we're not going to be in Manhattan. When I started here, it's $3,000 a month. It's now $21,000 a month. Okay, I can't do that. I
No.
don't have any money, and it's sort of like been
Nobody can do that.
nobody. Can, well, you can if you're a restaurant for 3 years and then you go
That's
under,
right. That's it.
or a clothing store,
Or a
know.
chain.
or a chain. Yeah.
Or you do untucked shirts. See, now look at you. Your shirt is
I
untucked.
don't have a
But
professional.
you're not wearing an untucked shirt, and so you look lousy.
I'm
You
not
look like
branded.
hell.
I'm not branded. Yeah, but it is a Ted Baker shirt because I used to do
Yes,
music
that's
for the store.
That's a nice shirt.
That's the other thing. I mean, when you used to do music for stores, you did really
And they
well.
last a long time too.
Yeah.
The Ted Baker shirts I were very expensive, but they last a
Yeah.
long time.
Nice.
Oh, is that the? Oh, that's the one from. That's the one that the record came out. This is great. This is
Well, one of the greatest. I was a psychedelic ranger, right? At these, that was the person who kept order.
So let me just say, this is the poster for the Ann Arbor Blues and Jazz Festival that the record came out on Atlantic Records, that was reissued by Classic Records, that we talked about. That should be, you should get a copy of this record. It's phenomenal.
Right.
Now, not all these artists are on that record. Like
Right.
Miles Davis is. The artists that were signed to other labels couldn't be on it, but a lot of great people are on that record.
Well,
It's
I think
so
that
great.
the best concert I ever heard was the Art Ensemble of Chicago record that came out from the Ann Arbor Blues and Jazz Festival. Do you know that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
it's got Geechee recollections on it and a couple. I mean, it's just like it was a fabulous thing. So again, in Ann Arbor, so I helped do a lot of the graphics for all this when I was a kid. Different blues and jazz festivals. Yeah, this one I lost, but I had a Xerox of.
Wow. I said wow too many times.
Anyway,
Oh, is
these
this-
are really early ones.
Oh, now this one just came out on vinyl from Third Man Records.
Yeah.
Some guy had a tape recorder there, had an Norelco tape recorder, and it could give you a shave, and it could record music. And he went around. All these artists are on this.
This is why I want to meet Jack and show him this. And like this, we're trying to get Craig to just bring him up here. So you could come to the record sale first and take whatever you want.
Oh, I don't. I'd rather just do.
But
this.
anyway, but this is great to save, right? To have these
Yes.
things. Yes. So yeah, this was the field ad. This is later because they didn't name it that.
This
at
is
first.
on that. This is on that. This is the students. Yeah, this is on that 2 records that just came out. That Jack White released.
Okay, so now Canterbury House was the religious coffee house, and I used to get in free because I set up chairs. So I set up the chairs for the Neil Young concert,
Right.
That's there. That was also a famous. I forget what they called it, and also for the first time Joni Mitchell ever played in America because she was a Canadian kid
right.
who just came over the border from Windsor.
Yeah. What a time that was. I'm glad I lived through that era.
Well, like I said, I got to be a hippie and a punk.
Yeah.
What
Me
a great
too.
thing.
Hey, I opened for the Jam. I opened for Television. I opened for Root.
What was the
Boy
band?
Slim
What
and
was the
Sex
band
Change.
you were in? You were in a band?
No, I did stand up musical comedy.
Oh, we have
Yes,
to check.
sir.
Man, we have to check and see it.